turn from the informal greeting of each other to the formal beginning of our service as we light our chalice, the symbol of Unitarian Universalism, the symbol of our unity and solidarity, of our openness and inclusion, of our community and individual uniqueness. May this small flame be an offering of warmth to those who are cold and alone, and a light to those in darkness. May it be a flame that ignites justice in our world, and a beacon of hope to those in need. And may it reflect at least a spark of truth wherever truth is lost, and cast a shadow of reasonable doubt where it has been found. As you have heard, today we are beginning a journey with our intern minister, Dr. Isabel Call. This will be a learning journey, not just for Isabel, but for all of us, as we are called to grow individually and collectively. Our opening reading celebrates that idea and encourages us in this journey. Invitation to Brave Space by Mickey Scott Bay Jones. Together, we will create brave space, because there is no such thing as a safe space. We exist in the real world. We all carry scars, and we have all caused wounds. In this space, we seek to turn down the volume of the outside world. We amplify voices that fight to be heard elsewhere. We call each other to more truth and love. We have the right to start somewhere and continue to grow. We have the responsibility to examine what we think we know. We will not be perfect. This space will not be perfect. It will not always be what we wish it to be. But it will be our brave space together, and we will work on it side by side.
And lest we just focus on the somber, there is also great joy to be had in this journey. And I invite you right now to stand and sing some of that joy with Let It Be a Dance. Please stand as you're willing and able.
Say the words. Good morning. So before we get to our story for all ages, I'm going to take advantage of having the mic for a minute and let you all know that we are just a week away from Village Fest, which is very exciting. If ever there is a Sunday to bring your friend to church, it is next Sunday, because after the second service, not only will we have crafts and face painting and bouncy castles and live music, but we will also have local food trucks. It's going to be a fabulous event, and the proceeds from it will all go towards building a wheelchair-accessible pathway from our building to our playground so that any child who walks through our doors can participate and play. And now, I would like to invite our young and our young at heart forward for our story for all ages. While they're coming forward, the story that I'm going to read to you today, I have the great honor of written by Isabel. And there's a refrain in it that I would like to invite you to sing with me, and I'm going to teach it to you now. It goes like this. Every little thing's gonna be all right. Sing it with me. Every little thing is gonna be all right. So I'll cue you when it comes up. This is called The Dancer. Once upon a time, a young child realized that she wanted to be a dancer. It was winter, and she was in the audience of a giant theater watching the Nutcracker. Have any of you seen the Nutcracker? It's a wonderful ballet. Well, this child had never seen anything like it, and she loved it. The dancing and the music was so beautiful that it filled her eyes and ears and heart and mind, and it spilled into her legs and arms, and she couldn't help but jump up from her seat and twirl around in the aisle, and she thought to herself, maybe one day, if I'm very, very lucky, I will be a dancer. The child grew bigger and older and took piano lessons. She forgot she wanted to be a dancer. Then she moved to a new school, and at this school, there were classes in West African dancing. She went to a class, and she jumped and scooted and hopped and loved it. And she thought to herself, maybe one day, if I'm very, very lucky, I will be a dancer. This child, who was by now a teenager, grew older. She grew busier. Her new school had classes in modern dance and ballet and hip hop, and she tried them all and loved them. Her new school also had classes in math and economics and history and art, and she tried them all and loved them. And she thought to herself, maybe one day, if I'm very, very lucky, I will know what I want to do when I grow up. And then it was time for her piano lesson, and she forgot that she wanted to be a dancer. The teenager grew into a young adult and then an older young adult, and she spent her time doing math and economics and reading history and doing a little bit of art and playing a little bit of piano. And every time she got together with her friends and they put music on, she danced, danced, danced. And she enjoyed it, and that was enough. Then one day, a terrible, scary thing happened. And she woke up in a hospital bed. And she couldn't move her legs, even when she tried. And she couldn't talk because there was a machine helping her breathe. Her family was there, and her friends were there, and a nurse was there. And the nurse sang, every little thing is gonna be all right. And our friend, the one who wanted to be a dancer, she moved her shoulders to the beat. Every little thing is gonna be all right. And the nurse said, honey, you are a dancer. And the dancer nodded her head ever so slightly and smiled. Even though it was scary and terrible that she was in the hospital and her body was so changed, and she didn't know if it would change back, she was a dancer. Her body kept changing. One day she wiggled her toes. Another day she got out of bed and rolled herself around the room in a wheelchair. Another day she learned to breathe without the machine. Another day she started talking again, very softly. Many days went by. The dancer learned to walk with help. The dancer learned to walk without help. The dancer learned to walk down the street very slowly. The dancer learned to walk down the street very slowly, humming. One day, she was walking slowly down the street, humming softly, and a stranger asked her very loudly, "What happened?" And she said nothing because she didn't know what to say. Another day, she was walking down the street humming, and someone asked her, looking at her body, "What happened?" And she said, "It's a long story that I don't want to tell right now." Another day, she was walking down the street humming, and someone asked her, "What happened?" And she said, "I became a dancer." The dancer's body kept changing, and she grew into an even older young adult. And one day, when she was walking somewhat slowly and humming a bit off tune, she suddenly realized that if she was very, very lucky, someday she would be old and creaky and wise and still a dancer. Please join me now in singing our children and youth to their religious education classes with hymn number 413, Go Now in Peace.
This morning's offering, which sustains this community and our mission to the larger world.
Together
Each time we gather as a congregation, there are always those who are with us in our minds and hearts, and who we want to wrap in our love and care. Michelle Brannon has asked us to kindle a candle for Tammy and Grace. Grace was born via emergency C-section on Tuesday, September 4th. She is 4 pounds, 9 ounces, and will face some surgeries in the near future. Let us share a moment in silence, embracing those others who are here in our hearts this morning. You are welcome to say their names aloud as you are willing. Lori. Those named aloud, and those remembered in the silence, and all those who are suffering elsewhere in our world this hour, we hold in our community of compassion. Now, take a moment to get comfortable. Close your eyes if you wish, and take several deep breaths. The words to lead us into meditation this morning are taken from the Social Justice Warrior's Guide to the High Holy Days by Dane Cutler. And Spirit says, "And lo, let us go. Go deep. Go in. You have done what you can. And now is the time to face yourself. Go with courage, for you are doing the work of the righteous. Go with comfort, for you have not given up. Go with trembling, for though you are small, you are an indispensable part of the greatness. You are necessary. You are essential. You are here." Our reading this morning is taken from What Makes a Story by Ursula Le Guin. What makes a story is you want to find out what happens next. This bit of the story leads you to the next one. Like running, when you have to put the left foot down ahead of the right foot because you're not actually balanced on the right foot that touches the ground, but are leaning forward into the run. And then you have to put the right foot down ahead of the left one because ditto. This is the can't put downer type story. Fast-paced, suspenseful. You don't see much scenery running or learn much. You run for the sake of running, the pleasure and the excitement. Then there is the story like walking, steady, and you fall into the flow of the gait and cover ground while seeing everything around you, scenery you may never have seen before. And the walk may end up somewhere you've never been. And there's the story like dancing, where the next movement keeps growing out of the last movement, but not in a straightforward way. Its direction isn't merely onwards, but involves circles and feints and repetitions and all kinds of strange gestures. And yet, if the dance is true to itself, all the movements are connected and everyone follows from the last, not predictably, but inevitably. I use bodily similes, not mechanical ones. Walking, running, dancing, not driving fast or slow in a car or flying in a plane, because I think art depends upon rhythms. And body rhythms are what writers use. Mechanical rhythms, non-rhythmic movement like in a car or a plane, may be used successfully in mechanical arts, like the movies. But writing, whatever its medium, is made of words. And words are bodily, made with the body and the breath, received by the body, felt with the body. And the rhythms of words are bodily rhythms.
Become
Thank you. I am delighted to be able to introduce Dr. Isabel Call and to welcome her to our pulpit for the first of many times this year. One thing that Todd didn't mention is that Isabel is a lifelong UU, and for many of us, that's a novel experience. So I imagine we will learn a lot from the perspective of one who has grown up in our faith and with our values. One other thing I wanted to share with you is she's done some work in Seattle and Sacramento as a chaplain for people facing physical and mental health issues and housing challenges. So we will learn so much more about Isabel during the year, but I am just so pleased to welcome you today.
Thank you all. I'm really glad to be here. Half a lifetime ago, my high school dance teacher invited me to an improvisational dance class at the local university. I got there a bit early, but people were already there warming up, running around and leaping onto each other in beautiful, spectacular shapes. I was the youngest person in the room, trained in traditional dance forms and keeping my hands and feet to myself. And I was intimidated. To make matters worse, there was not just one sign-up sheet at the door, but two. One had the heading movers, and the other had the heading shakers. Apparently, I had to choose. Someone called from midair across the room, "Don't forget to sign in." Was I a mover or a shaker? Now, I was raised a Unitarian Universalist, as you heard. That is, both a mover and a shaker. But I have to keep relearning that I don't have to choose. The outside world endlessly demands that we label ourselves. When we're in a community that loves us just as we are able to remember how distracting the labels are. I think that was the joke these dancers were making, but it flew right over my head. Dance is one of the many art forms to get around this compulsion to put ourselves and each other in boxes. It's a way to connect beyond the same old scripts of everyday life, an embodied form of storytelling. The most beautiful stories, whatever the medium, can give us a sense of community. They reveal. When I tell you a story about the world, you get a glimpse from my eyes. When I tell you a story about myself, the us between us changes. And when you allow a story into your heart and body, you are changed. I recall a worship service at the First Unitarian Church of Oakland in honor of Black History Month. There was a guest performance by a group of teenage dancers called Destiny Arts. Although I was in the very back of a very large sanctuary, their rhythmic movement brought me right to the center of the moment. All of a sudden, they stomped in unison and froze, and a girl yelled out into the room and into my soul, "Black lives matter because I matter." I was instantly moved to tears. There at the back of the room, I had a revelation. I matter too, and it's not about me. The message is Black lives matter. That Sunday, my body received it, even though I'd been hearing it. I return to that moment every time I need to remember how to be an ally. Dance is an embodied form of storytelling, and storytelling is a dance of community building. In the dance of this gathering, I am at the front of the room. I'm not going to stomp my foot, but I do hope to call you in as my allies. Because I bring a body with a disability. You may hear the air in my voice or notice the asymmetric way that I walk. The difference I embody becomes a story, whether I'm the one who tells it or not. This is one of the reasons I was eager to lead worship near the beginning of my time with you, so that I could have the opportunity to anticipate any questions you might have. 2 years ago, I broke several vertebrae and a leg, and I punctured my lung. My spinal cord was injured, and now my nerves send mixed signals all over my body. That may be permanent. In the hospital, a breathing tube injured my vocal cords. That may be permanent. I am no longer temporarily able-bodied. These are true parts of my life story, but they're not the truth any of us is here to search for. I hope that you and I can talk about other things, and that you will leave it to me to bring up the topic of my physical trauma. This is one of the best ways you can support me as a disabled person, which is a small but important part of the bigger project of supporting me as a new UU minister. Other people may need you to be an ally in a different way, and the trick is to listen and learn that. In her TED Talk, The Danger of a Single Story, writer Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie says, "I've always felt that it is impossible to engage properly with a place or a person without engaging with all of the stories of that person and that place. The consequence of the single story is this: it robs people of dignity. It makes our recognition of our equal humanity difficult. It emphasizes how we are different rather than how we are similar." After recounting some of her own trauma, Adichie says, "All of these stories make me who I am, but to insist on only these negative stories is to flatten my experience and to overlook the many other stories that formed me. Although becoming disabled has changed me, it's not all that I am. People who are temporarily able-bodied, as I once was, have a difficult time imagining how life can be full without all their physical abilities. But if we're lucky, we all outlive temporary able-bodiedness, if we had it to start with. If we're lucky, we see many of our stories about ourselves and the world fall away. New stories arrive, old ones we've never put words to before emerge. The changes to my body have had a profound impact on how I live my life and how I understand my world. Unable to speak for some time, I learned anew how to listen. I renewed my relationship with that still small voice within me and between me and the world. In Hebrew, it's called Kol Demama Daka, the still small voice. I used to think that a free and responsible search for truth and meaning was always hard work. But I learned that sometimes the meaning of the story reveals itself in the spaces between the words. This is true in personal life, but also in community life, in the places where our stories meet, in the art of blending our stories. Listening to the still small voice inside ourselves is an essential practice for telling a new story together. I'm very grateful to be in this story-rich community, one which reaches for common humanity even as it celebrates difference. A community full of movers and shakers and people who identify as both or neither. I don't think a DJ would counsel me to try to understand all of your stories, any more than I can expect you to fully understand me at the end of this church year. But there's a tender quality of listening and sharing that we can practice together. A respect for ko te mama daka that I've seen every day this week in the church office. Even as we are fierce in rewriting justice into our world, we can be gentle in heart, soul, and mind with each other. So take a moment right now, a little break from the sermon, and check in with that gentle heart, gentle soul, and gentle mind that you brought here today. Gentle heart, gentle soul, gentle mind, mind. Gentle heart, gentle soul, gentle mind, mind. Gentle heart, gentle soul, gentle mind, mind. Gentle heart, gentle soul, gentle mind. Now, as you're willing, repeat after me. Life is change, love remains all the time, time. Life is change, love remains all the time, time. Life is change, love remains all the time, time. Life is change, love remains all the time, time. Gentle heart, gentle soul, gentle mind. Gentle heart, gentle soul, gentle mind, mind. Thank you. We will come back to that later. It feels auspicious to be able to speak for the first time in this community on this particular day, the eve of Rosh Hashanah. That's the start of the Jewish New Year. Rosh Hashanah commemorates God's creation of the earth and ushers in 10 days of awe. They're also called the days of repentance. The high holy days always come near the beginning of the school year, and in recent years, I've been enjoying the opportunity to learn a bit more about the tradition as I clean my slate. As an outsider, the combination of awe and repentance and creation didn't immediately make sense to me. And as a UU, repentance makes me a little uncomfortable. And yet, I think that as UUs, we do live at this intersection. We are awed by the beauty and intricacy of a world we didn't create ourselves. The forces flowing through other people's hands and bodies to create our institutions and systems, and those forces bigger than human will from nature that hold and sustain us. We care deeply for creation, even if we don't call it that, and we're aware that individually and collectively, we do not always care enough. As UUs, we return again and again to love and action. We recommit and recommit and recommit to a story of humanity that bends toward justice. And we bring our bodies and minds to the collaborative process of making it real. Another name for Rosh Hashanah is the Day of the Shofar. The shofar, or shofar gadol, the great shofar, is a hollowed-out animal horn, usually a ram's horn. It is blown every morning in the month leading up to Rosh Hashanah, and many times throughout the holiday itself. The shofar blasts on Rosh Hashanah come in a pattern, what Boston Rabbi Barbara Pensner calls a shofar sandwich, broken notes lovingly placed between sustained notes. She considers it a metaphor. We were whole, we became broken, and we will be whole again. The long notes connect us to awe, waking us up. The broken notes in the middle call up sorrow and grief, difficulty of being alive. Rabbis have historically connected these short sounds to a story about a mother wailing after losing her son in battle. Strikingly, the man whose mother grieves is none other than a brutal general of an ancient enemy of Israel. In Rabbi Pensner's words to her congregation last year, in that cry, the rabbis are telling us we must be shaken. We must let go of the walls that divide us and pay attention to human suffering. And not only the suffering of those on our own side, the shofar breaks into our consciousness to face the contradictions in our own lives. But the ritual does not end there. Having our deepest truths shattered, we return, whole once again, but different. We return, whole once again, but different. How like a good story. How like a good life. During my year with you, we will have times of awe. You will hear something from me or Todd or a lay leader in the pulpit that you've never considered before. I will hear something from you in a meeting or during coffee hour that reveals a depth of beauty I could not have expected. Together, we will be rocked awake by stunning music here in the sanctuary. We will also have times of being shaken. Some of what I've learned about ministry in seminary is not going to hold up. I don't know what it will be that's not going to hold up, but I know there will be something. And life is going to happen to each of us and all of us. The stories we've been leaning on for meaning will seem to unravel. I hope that we can allow these blasts of the shofar into our hearts and allow them to change us. Allow them to change us individually and to change our understanding of what and who us is. May we stay present to this transformation during our year of learning together. May we stay present as I grow into a minister and you grow into a teaching congregation for ministers. Let us invite each other in and let ourselves be changed. As a chance to practice the art of sharing and listening, harmonizing our stories into a single shared story, I want to bring back the song we sang earlier. Deborah and Susan are going to help me out. And we're going to sing it all together, and then we're going to sing it in a round. So I think, what do you think? How should we divide up? How should we divide up the congregation? Okay, great. All right, so the invisible line, is it there or here? Right here. Okay, so we have an invisible line. These folks will be the movers, and you all can be the shakers for now. And let's sing what we sang together, 4 lines. We'll sing it all together 3 times, and then we'll break into a round. We'll see if we can do that spontaneously. Now, the choir will start. You'll start, and then our helpful song leaders will get the rest of us going. Gentle heart, gentle soul, gentle mind, Gentle heart, gentle soul, gentle mind, mind. Life is changed, love remains all the time, time. Life is changed, love remains all the time, time. Gentle heart, gentle soul, gentle mind, mind. Gentle heart, gentle soul, gentle mind, mind. Life is changed, love remains all the time, time. Life is changed, love remains all the time, time. Gentle heart, gentle soul, gentle mind, mind. Gentle heart, gentle soul, gentle mind, mind. Life is changed, love remains all the time, time. Life is changed, love remains all the time, time. Gentle heart, gentle soul, gentle mind, mind. Gentle heart, gentle soul, gentle mind, mind. Life is changed, love remains all the time, time. Life is changed, love remains all the time, time. Gentle heart, gentle soul, gentle mind, mind. Gentle heart, gentle soul, gentle mind, mind. Life is changed, love remains all the time, time. Life is changed, love remains all the time, time. Gentle heart, gentle soul, gentle mind, mind. Gentle heart, gentle soul, gentle mind, mind. Life is changed, love remains all the time, time. Life is changed, love remains all the time, time. Life is changed, love remains all the time, time. Life is changed, love remains all the time, time.
Our closing words are taken once again from The Social Justice Warriors Guide to the High Holy Days by Dane Cutler. And Spirit says, "Are you listening? I am hiding all over the place. I do not live in the sky. I go by the name Holden Mama Daka, the thin, small voice that lives in the echo of every wild cry. You are the shofar gadol, the great shout. I live in your softness. I live in the most protected place in you. And if you can hear me, you can hear justice and peace. And they do not sound like lullabies. I may be small, but still I am terrifying." Amen, blessed be, salam alaikum, and shalom.